Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast. Everybody's here, and we're talking football. Last week's games, this week's games, news, transfer news, everything from the football world. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Drop any reviews you want to drop, and share the podcast around. Right, let's get started. So here we go. This is CookieCast, the football podcast.
Recording in progress.
Well, definitely for the very first time this evening, definitely not a redo at all, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome along to your weekly instalment of football-based nonsense with myself, Paul Williams, your Middlesbrough correspondent, with Stuart Woodmansey, your Hull correspondent. How are you, sir?
Hello, I am, whatever, all good.
Obviously decided to skip English language lessons today. Very nice, Stu, very nice. Your Nottingham Forest correspondent, Mr. Matthew Moore, how are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
And our... I can't really combine all three clubs together for one, so I'll just do our generic correspondent and leader / creator of the podcast network. Mr. Andrew Cook, how are you, sir?
Like Neo in The Matrix, I am trying to dodge germs like they were bullets. But other than that, I am... Well's probably not the right way of putting it. I am surviving.
To shock absolutely no one, haven't seen that film, so don't really get the reference.
Paul, not seen a film? I'm so shocked about that.
I'm just going to go...
I thought there was something else going on. There was like, I'm just going to go get a bat to smash you around your face. I thought that was what was coming. So, yes, it's the football podcast, ladies and gentlemen, so we'll go through last week's predictions. We'll get this week's upcoming games to go through, and then we'll send you on your merry way, where you can consider yourselves a little bit more educated on the comings and goings of Middlesbrough, Hull and Nottingham Forest. But before we get there, as it is January, as it is the transfer window still being open, we'll do a little transfer dealings roundup. I'll go first, as Middlesbrough have done zero business this week, so there is absolutely nothing for me to update. So that's that done and dusted, nice and snapping. We'll come to Nottingham. We'll go back up to the Premier League, shall we, for the next instalment. Mr. Moore, what's been going on at the City ground?
I think last week you will have covered Loic Bardet going back to Rennes and then straight to Sevilla, and Josh Bowler coming back to Forest and then kind of just did the complete reverse of the summer. He came back to Forest and then went back to Blackpool. And I missed it. I forgot to tell you, Alex Mighton has returned from Sheffield Wednesday, much to Steve Cooper's anger. He's not very happy about it because I don't think he can. I think he must have played for Forest at some point before he went out to Sheffield Wednesday. So he can't go and play for a third team unless he apply for special dispensation. That being said,
I didn't think it counted when it came to like loans, because obviously you can have like short-term loans, and I don't think they count. So unless it's a case of he can only go out on short-term loans for the rest of the season,
like a month at a time.
So then that means he can only go on short-term loan for a month at the end of January, because you can only do a short-term loan. So I presume, he's back at Forest. I don't know. He might be getting games with the under-23s. I can't see him getting into the matchday squad. For any cups now, Winter only left in one. And then it's been on the cards for a while, I think. So then they have eventually signed Danilo from Palmeiras, same place as they got Scarpa from. defensive midfielder. That's all I know.
So from what I understand, it's not that Danilo, and it's not that other Danilo, and it's potentially not even that other Danilo. It seems to be a bit of a popular name in Brazil, that one. But yeah, I don't think it's the one who previously played for Man City or Real Madrid or Juventus.
He's a young player. I think. I don't think he's like. I don't think he's I think he's kind of not a well-known, but kind of
not an established name. Shall we say?
No. But just what Forest needed, another defensive midfielder. It's not like we've got about 5.
It's not like they signed like one of the Championship's best last season, then just don't play him. So
don't play him. Well, he's apparently on his way. Could possibly be on his way back out.
I had seen he was potentially one of the names that was eligible to be on the move this window. So watch this space.
Well, yeah. Then apparently we're in for. I don't know where that fits in with obviously Ryan. We'll talk about later. Ryan Yates possibly being injured for a bit. But also we're looking at Navas at PSG for a goalkeeper.
Interesting.
But apart from that, that's it. That's the only official incoming to Forest. No outgoings. But watch this space.
I suppose if you do sign a goalkeeper, he'll get 2 games in the cup, and that'll be.
I was going to say that is literally the only reason they're signing. Oh, and one game in the league towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
Marvellous. Let's take a little trip over to East Yorkshire then.
So we have had nobody come in this week to Hull. We have had some returns, however. So the younger generation of our goalkeeping fraternity have both been out on loan the first half of the season, and keepers Harvey Cartwright and David Robson are back from loans at Peterborough and Crawley, respectively. So I imagine that they'll probably look to go back out somewhere else. It seems the Peterborough one was a bit probably maybe expected, because Harvey Cartwright will have obviously worked with Grant McCann at some point. Now Grant McCann has been relieved of his duties there. The new guy's probably coming in to clean house, but yeah, so I imagine they'll be back out shortly.
Sorry, did you just say the new guy?
For Peter? Oh, sorry, yeah. Well, he's the new.
I very much think he's not the new guy. He's back for the 4th time. So.
Give him credit just to the end of the season.
Oh, is that what he said? Oh, fair enough then.
Is that because then he can come back again at the end of next season? For those of you that don't know, we're talking about the offspring of Sir Alex Ferguson has returned Darren to a managerial position at Peterborough. It's almost like he's got a loyalty card for that job at this point.
That must be it, isn't it? Like, you know, if you manage him like for a 5th time, he gets to own the club for free or something like that. So.
Must at least get a free coffee out of it.
You'd like to think so.
And we're talking a big one, not a little one.
I like it.
And in the outgoing department, we and anything that Forest can do with theirs, we can obviously copy as well, because we signed Dogakan Sinik in the summer. He's been there since July, and he's already leaving. So he has gone on loan to Turkish side Antalyaspor until the end of the season. He only made 12 appearances for us, but Antalyaspor is his hometown club where he signed as a boy, so there's obviously a strong connection, and definitely wasn't going to get a game anymore, so why not ease that wage bill ever so slightly?
Very, very nice. Obviously, not so much for Mr. Sinek, who has to leave the English Riviera. He wasn't at Torquay at any point. So, as we said last week, it was the debut of the new book. 3 games. No, sorry, I tell a lie. No, sorry, it was only 3 games. 3 games were put into it from a predictions perspective. So let's go through those 3 games right now. We started the week with Nottingham Forest at home to Leicester City. How did this one go, Mr. Moore?
Well, as my dad reliably informed me that someone had put, it was the first East Midlands derby since, they'd written somewhere in one of the big newspapers. It was the first Midlands derby since Derby had played Leicester however many years ago. Forgetting that, maybe he was a Forest fan and was also blocked out the 4-0 thrashing that had happened less than 6 months ago. So cracking job for the bit of research in that paper, 4 months ago. Sorry. So the first East Midlands derby in 4 months, not 5 or 6 years as they'd apparently written. Or also forgetting that Forest had played Leicester in the Cup last season. So fair enough, they might have gone with the league stats, but okay, we'll go. So the first Leicester Forest game at the City Ground since last year's FA Cup. Okay, so we'll get there eventually. Apparently, a really good performance. Forest looked dominant from the highlights that I saw. Forest win 2-0. Two really good goals. I think, kind of looking at the game, Morgan Gibbs-White seems to really have settled down into the team at the moment. And reading the comments from the hundreds of Brazilian followers Forest all of a sudden seem to have gained from Scarpa joining, they were also very impressed by Morgan Gibbs-White. At the start, they were like, "Oh, why is Scarpa not getting the ball more? Oh, number 10 needs to be giving up the ball." Oh no! By the end, they were like, "Oh no, number 10 is absolutely awesome," kind of thing. So yeah, he seemed to really be kind of the kind of glue that was kind of keeping everything together and all that kind of cliche. But having said that, he didn't score the goals. Podcast favourite, Brennan Johnson getting 2 goals. 2 very nice finishes as well, which took Forest up to 13th. I'm not sure they were still 13th, but but the unfortunate kind of thing is that I kind of touched on it before, but a bit of an injury crisis seems to be hitting Forest at the moment. We seem to have a lot of, thank God we signed 24 or 25 players this year, because we seem to be needing them at the moment. So Yates went off injured just after half time. There's no news on how long he's going to be out. But also, and I kind of mentioned it before, that Forest were looking for a keeper. Dean Henderson is rumoured to be out for 3 to 4 weeks, which is a massive miss. And judging by Wayne Hennessy's performance at Manchester United the other week, we definitely probably need a better goalkeeper than what he provides with him and Jordan Smith as the other backup. So yeah, 2-0 win, but came at a bit of a cost.
Not good moving forward, but in the here and now, a great 3 points. Like you say, the dizzying heights of 13th. Certainly not unlucky for Forest, let's put it that way. From a predictions perspective, myself, Mr. Woodmansey and Mr. Moore all went for varying degrees of draws. Myself and Stu went for a 1-1. I had Awoniyi and Barnes to score. Stu had Gibbs-White and Barnes to score. At least Gibbs-White made the game, as Awoniyi didn't even get in the squad, which was nice. Matt had a 2-2 draw with Maddison and Barnes to score for Leicester, Gibbs-White and Johnson to score for Forest. Gets himself a cheeky point there. Mr. Cook, though, his optimism, we knew it would pay dividends eventually, and he's starting to reap those rewards, ladies and gentlemen. Went for a 2-1 Nottingham Forest win. Sadly, just let down by Leicester being so shit they couldn't even score. Almost 2 points there. So he gets a point for his correct result. He also had Awoniyi and Johnson to score, so bags himself a second point after the first game. Myself and Stu get to score. Mr. Moore on 1. Andy takes the lead with 2 points. Our second game of the week takes us over to Hull, where Hull were taking on Huddersfield Town. We were in Hull at the time of the game, but we were not at the game, were we, Mr. Woodmansey?
No. I mean, the pub was calling, so it was what it was. But you'll be interested to know that this is the first Hull City versus Huddersfield game since the 1st of April last year, just to keep in theme with Matt's statistic. So yeah, Rossini made 7 changes from the cup game against Fulham, as to be expected. Sean McLaughlin made his 50th appearance for the club, and yeah, looked to try and separate themselves from yet another relegation contender at this point in the season. So Hull do the only thing they know how to do, and that is to go a goal down after 21 minutes. Helik scored for Huddersfield, and that is Helik's second goal of the season. Does anybody want to guess when he scored his first goal of the season? That's right. In the reverse fixture earlier in the season.
Look, Andy even put his hand up there. He was so happy.
It came from
a football question they knew the answer to.
The goal came from a corner, so obviously there'll be the inquiry about set-piece defending. But generally, I spoke to Rich as well about it. He was at the game. Huddersfield were the better side. And then, in the 98th minute, the very last kick of the game. That's right, Andy. I can see you looking confused. It was the 98th minute of a 90-minute game. Yep. The last kick. Oscar Estepinian sticks his leg out, flails his ankle at it, and gave the keeper absolutely no chance. If he intended that finish, fair play to him, because it was pretty audacious, but it was a really good goal for us. Sort of keeps everything status quo, I guess, between us and them as well. It's 6 games unbeaten in the league for Hull, so it's starting to build something. But like I said on the podcast a little earlier in the season, don't want to turn into the new Preston and draw every game, because this is not fun. We do one of our regular listeners who messaged me from time to time, Max, made a great point to me a few weeks ago, and it's particularly about the manager. So the quote from Rossini after the game was directly this: "Teams aren't creating against us, but teams are scoring goals against us, and that needs to change." Max's comment from a few weeks ago was, as much as Rossini seems like a nice guy, he sounds like a competition winner every time he gives a speech after the game, which is absolutely true. That made 0 sense. So yeah, 1-1, we move on.
Well, before we move on, I would just like to say this was... watching the equaliser was made all the better for the clip that I had seen on Twitter of them Hull scoring the equaliser, and I'd say a good 50 or so of their supporters literally running as fast as they could across the south stand, or possibly the north stand. You'll have to answer that one for me. Towards the hordes of away supporters to goad them into the fact that they just conceded a last-minute equaliser. That was pretty funny, as I don't think I've ever seen a mass of people run quite so fast before in my life.
It'll be the north stand. Yeah, south stand is the family stand, so it's the goal. It's the end where the goal was scored. So yeah, it was the north stand.
So, predictions-wise, myself and Mr. Moore have both gone for Hull City wins. I went for 1-0 with Tete to score. Matt had gone for 2-1 with Tufan and Estupinian to score for Hull. Ward to score for Huddersfield. Gets himself a point despite not having the correct result. Mr. Woodmansey had a 2-2 draw with Longman and Estupinian to score for Hull. Rhodes and Holmes to score for Huddersfield. So Mr. Woodmansey gets himself 2 points there. He's at it again though, ladies and gentlemen. Not his optimistic pick. This guy steers in with the 1-1 draw, getting himself 2 points for the correct score. He's also got Rhodes to score for Huddersfield. That's no point there. But Estupinian to score for Hull. So Mr. Cook bags himself 3 tasty points there. So after 2 games, I am yet to score. Mr. Woodmansey and Mr. Moore on 2 points. Andy absolutely rifling it home with 5 points. Our last game of the week took us over to Teesside, where Middlesbrough took on Millwall. This one was 0-0 at half-time. Not a great deal of stuff happened in the first half. It was quite a quiet game. And then in the second half, Stu's favourite striker manages to pop up on the right-hand side with a little through ball, as a little snapshot. First off, like, as soon as he gets into the box, which gets blocked by the defender, manages to round it back, cut back inside onto his left, and just stick it under the goalkeeper for a lovely little tidy finish. And that's how the game finished. Just the one goal in it. That's a lovely little 1-0 win. Middlesbrough keeping up their record of scoring every game so far under Michael Carrick, and now they're starting to pick up a couple of clean sheets here and there, which is always a bonus. From a predictions perspective, Mr. Woodmansey had gone for a 1-1 draw here, with Akpom and Honeyman to score. Gets himself 0 points. Myself, Mr. Moore and Mr. Cook had all gone for varying different degrees of Middlesbrough win. Mr. Moore had gone 2-0 with Akpom and Archer to score. Just gets himself a point for the goal, for the result there. Mr. Cook had gone 2-1 to the Borough, with Akpom and Foz to score for the Borough and Saville to score for Millwall. I had gone for 3-1 with Akpom, Archer and Foz to score for the Borough and Fleming to score for Millwall. So, 2 points for Mr. Cook, 2 points for me, 1 point for Mr. Moore. For the week's total, sadly, no points for Mr. Woodmansey. So, week total, after 3 games, myself and Mr. Woodmansey on 2 points. Mr. Moore, 3 points, but winning the week with a stellar 7 points from the 3 games. Take a bow, Mr. Andrew Cook.
He's actually doing it as well. That's incredible. There were some weeks where we could do 7 games and not get 7 points.
Oh,
so
yeah.
to get that from 3 games is pretty good going.
It's mightily impressive. Well done, sir. So, that just leaves us with week 23's predictions to go through. There are 4 games across 2 different competitions. We've got league games to start us off, and then a Carabao Cup semi-final first leg to go through. But before we start off with the week 23 predictions, we are just going to take a small break just to refresh, replenish, and then go again to give you the high-quality entertainment that you need, ladies and gentlemen. So don't touch that dial, as we'll be right back after this.
Recording in progress.
She's back! She's back! She's back, ladies and gentlemen. That just means the second half of your weekly roundup. So we left off wrapping up week 22, which means we have week 23 ahead of us. As I said, 4 games this week. We're in one of those strange positions where we have a game on a Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and then a midweek fixture to tantalise the taste buds. So we'll start with the Friday night fixture, which takes place on Sky Sports between Sheffield United and Hull City. Obviously, it's Mr. Woodmansey's team, so he will go last. I have some words in front of me in the book, so I will jump in first with my prediction. And sadly, it's not gonna make great reading for Hull City fans, I'm afraid, Stu. I have gone for a 3-0 Sheffield United win. With them being at home, with them being in the form that they're in, I feel like they're probably just going to be a bit too strong for most teams that take them on at this particular time. I've gone for Ndai to get 2 and Berger to get the third. I hope I'm wrong, as obviously the more points that Sheffield United pick up, the more difficult it's going to be for the unstoppable train that is Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough to catch him. So it'd be nice if Hull could beat him, but I don't see it happening. Matt, what have you got down for this one?
I've gone, unfortunately, I'm in some level of agreement with you. I've gone for a Sheffield United 2-1 win. 2-1.
The doctor, the principal, he's in the room, has to give him a goal. I wasn't as generous. Your goal scorers?
Ndai and Bogle. And Estepinian.
Yes, of course. Good old Butch Oscar. Fresh from his trip to Hull train station, no less. Mr. Cook, Your thoughts?
So, sometimes there are times to be optimistic and sometimes there aren't. But this is one of those times. So 1-0 to Hull. Let's do this. Come on. I always like to think that there's situations where, like, you know, I always like to root for any underdog. So 1-0, Estupinian to score their goal.
One thing we didn't mention off the back of the whole draw and the Estupinian goal was that it does in fact draw him, not drawing level, it brings him to within one of Tubes at the top of the goal scoring charts in the Championship. So watch this space. That could be an interesting little sort of like side podcast thing for the end of the season. Which of the strikers will end up with more goals? But watch this space. Go on then, Stu. What do you reckon's going to happen?
Well, I'd like to buy into Andy's theory. I really would. Again, stranger things have happened. We've got a good away following because it's essentially one of the local games. They've sold out the away end already, so Sheffield United 2-0. Unfortunately, I'm hoping obviously we get something, but this for me feels a bit like one of them free hit games in the sense of it won't be one that they've got the cards marked to get anything from. So anything from this game will be a bonus. So I've gone for Berger as well to get one. So taking a leaf from you, and nobody's mentioned Billy Sharp. So there it is.
I did have a look, and I did see that he has started the last couple of games. I did contemplate it, and I was like, I haven't heard Sander Berger's name for a while, and considering that he's far too good for the Championship anyway, wouldn't be surprised if someone's tempted to test the waters with a cheeky bid for him before the window closes.
I will always pick Billy Sharp when he plays against us on the basis he's a former Scunthorpe United player. So
that is also true. So our next game takes us back up into the Premier League on Saturday, where Bournemouth take on Nottingham Forest. Mr. Moore's team, he will go last. Stu, what have you got for this one?
Before we start, is Owonyi still injured? Because I noticed he wasn't in the team.
Unknown would be the kind of thing. Cooper seems to play the kind of Belichick kind of twatty NFL coach kind of thing of like, he's under treatment at the moment and we don't quite know yet. I don't know. Like Morgan Gibbs-White was out for several weeks and then he's bossing the midfield at the moment.
Would it be prudent to say that his designation at the minute would be questionable?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, questionable game time decision, kind of that kind of.
Didn't attend practice this week, but on the day it's going to be decided. Yep.
Well, that will slightly influence mine because I'll play safe then because I did have on the paper. I've got 1-0 Forest, and seeing as the 1 year is not nailed on, I'll go Gibbs-White because he apparently will be. So, and if he's been playing well, then it's about time he got on the score sheet again. So,
you're optimistic. I'm
not gonna lie. I've really enjoyed
number three.
I've really enjoyed seeing him play. Ever since he got that goal, he's sort of like he's coming to his own a bit, and he's sort of like taken off, and like I wouldn't go so far as to say he's proven that he's worth the money they've spent, as I still feel they've probably overpaid for him. But he's getting there. He's slowly but surely paying back that fee. Mr. Cook, what have you got for this one?
1-0 Forest. With my favourite Forest player, Brendan Johnson, to score.
Oh, I thought you were gonna pull a fast one there and say, yeah, I've gone for my favourite Forest player, Steve Cook, to score the goal.
Brian Yates.
Joe Lolly.
Listen, even Yates' immediate family don't think of him as their favourite Forest player.
I think
Mike loves him.
we're quite optimistic predicting this game anyway, because Bournemouth have still got 3 or 4 days for part of their stadium to blow away like last time.
Or to catch Forest up with buying players. They've gone off at a canter in January.
It's raining tenors in Dorset, is it? Lovely. I have gone for a 2-1 Nottingham Forest win. I've gone for the namesake Moore to score for Bournemouth, and then I've gone for Johnson and Scarpa to get a goal for Forest. Go on then, Mr. Moore. What's this one going to pan out as?
I've gone for a 1-1 draw.
Oh, boo.
It's been a good run of form, but we've kind of got to be a little bit optimistic as the away form is, as we're repeatedly told, not great. So I've got 1-1, Solanke and Morgan Gibbs-White to score. You've got to remember Wayne Hennessy is in goal as well, so.
Yes, I had not considered that. Ugh. I've already put Bournemouth on to score. That's fine. Our third game of the week takes us on to Sunday, and a lunchtime fixture. Oh, and it's a tasty one, ladies and gentlemen. It's a weird teased derby where Sunderland will take on a Middlesbrough. My team. I will have the honour and the privilege of going last. So let's go straight to Mr. Andrew Cook for his prediction.
It's 0 to the Borough.
And your goal scorers, please.
Fours. And he's launched his own T-shirts. I've seen, thanks to Mr. Woodmansey, old Tuba.
Saw a clip today of the fact that his son saw him scoring a goal on telly, and I think he just started clapping. So I was like, "Oh, well, that's lovely." And somebody just captured it. Well, even Tuba's son's all aboard the Tuba train, so you know, if he knows, everybody knows. Mr. Woodmansey, what have you got for this one?
I have got 1-2. So Sunderland 1, Middlesbrough 2. I mean, there's definitely going to be no sendings off in this game, is there?
Do you know what? I would have said it's absolutely nailed on, but the prime candidate got himself binned off at the weekend, so he's not going to play.
Who's that?
Luke O'Nien. He is a fucking dirty bastard.
Well, speaking of those, I've gone for Crooks for Borough and McGree, because I feel like those two...
Sorry, I thought you were still talking about the red cards there for a second.
No. I mean, for those two particularly, I have this down as going to be... I don't think it's going to be a good game. I think it'll be one of those games where it's a bit snippy. And those two aren't in the side to score worldy screamers, are they? They're in there to get in amongst it. And
McGree?
Yeah, well...
Have you seen all of his goals this season? They're all bangers.
Well, yeah, but he is also a chippy little mother as well, so that's the sort of game it's going to be for me. And purely because I'm that egotistical, I've gone for Stuart to score for Sunderland.
Not spelt right, though, eh?
No, it's not. It's spelled very wrong. His is
more I believe you've been burnt by that in the past, haven't you? You've been burnt with an autograph from a wrestling personality when they've called you that particular name.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I can't mention names at this point, Angelina Love, but we'll. Yeah. No. Plus, Stuart scored against us when we drew 1-1, playing against 10 men. So I know that he's quick.
He's also a big bastard. He's tall, gangly, hard to mark. Mr. Moore, what have you got for this one?
I've gone for a 2-2 draw.
Desmond?
Fiery North East derby-ish. So I've gone 2 for Stuart, and then Akpom and 4s to score.
Very, very nice. I have the same result as one member of the podcast. I, too, have gone for a 2-1 Middlesbrough win. I've also gone for Stuart to score for Sunderland. I've also gone for McGree to score for Middlesbrough. But I've also gone for Akpom to score for Middlesbrough. So 2-1 Akpom and McGree. And if anything else is to be believed, McGree will score from about 75 yards. He'll be off the floor as he hits it. And he'll be, I don't know, wearing some sort of frilly tutu or something like that just to make it an extra special worldy strike. Our final game of the week takes us to the aforementioned Carabao Cup semi-final first leg for the right to play either Newcastle or Southampton. In the final, it is Nottingham Forest versus Manchester United. Now, of course, regardless of his injury status, this is a Nottingham Forest without Dean Henderson, bear in mind, unless Man United gave them the special dispensation to play, which I believe their answer would have been.
Apparently Forest asked just to make sure.
I'd like to think that if they had some sort of banter about them, they basically sort of like did that thing where they go, let me just... no.
It's that kind of Geordie saying of Shy Bairns getting out, or God love the Trier is the kind of thing.
That is very, very true.
But yeah.
So, Nottingham Forest, Manchester United, Carabao Cup, semi-final, first leg. I have gone for a 1-0 Nottingham Forest win. The reason is because I think Man United will make a lot of changes in this one. I think he'll want to see his squad, see what he's got in there. So I don't think they'll play the first teamers. And I think Forest might be able to capitalise on that. So I've gone for 1-0. And I'm hoping that he's going to be fit again at this point. So I've gone for a 1-0 to get the goal. Mr. Cook, what have you got for this one?
So, I presume if hypothetically somebody had picked a draw, they would also need to designate...
No.
Draw
can happen in this one because it's a two-legged affair. So if it's a draw, it just remains as a draw.
Where do we stand with away goals on this competition?
I don't think they count.
They ruled them out a while back, didn't they, I think?
I just don't think they've ever been in League Cup games. Might have to double check that one, but I don't think they count.
So my prediction may not come as a surprise at this point. A 1-1 draw. I also put down a 1-0 before learning of his possible injury, but I will leave it as because it's X number of games away and he may return. With what you've said about Manchester United, I was like, but I've still gone with Rashford to score.
As long as he didn't say Ronaldo, we were all good.
Obviously, anybody in the know will realise that this is technically a podcast derby.
But we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that, so let's move on.
That'd be silly, wouldn't it? Mr. Woodmansey, what have we got for this?
I don't agree that I think his team are finding some form at the moment, and I think he'll probably do his best to keep that going. Add into the mix the fact that Southampton dumped out the noisy neighbours last round. They've got a sniff of a trophy in his first season. I don't think he's resting players, but I've gone for, unfortunately for Matt, I've gone for a 0-2 to Manchester United with Rashford and Anthony to score, not the Martial variety.
Because why would you pick that shit bastard? Obviously.
He scored one goal that sort of scuffed in off his shin a few weeks back, didn't he? But
nah, we'll just pretend that never happened. Can also confirm that he hasn't started the game tonight. They've gone with Big Wout up top against Crystal Palace this evening. So, go on then, Matt. What are we having for this one?
I have kind of gone with the Stu camp on this one. I've gone for a 3-1 Man United win.
Oh dear.
I just think they're going to want to win the cup. I think, what's his face? Ten Hag, set out his stall. He wants to win a cup. they've been playing a weakened side through most of the competition and done all right. So when you look at their weakened side, good chunk of them played in the World Cup, considering last round it was Maguire and Martinez as the centre-backs. I'm like, yeah, that's not too bad, is it? World Cup winner. And, I mean, Harry was there, wasn't he? So, you know... So I've gone, 3-1 Man United win. I've gone Freuler for Forest.
Yep.
And then Rashford, Fred and Garnacho as the goal scorers.
There you are, ladies and gentlemen. He's officially lost his mind. He's actually tipped up Fred to score a goal.
He's scored just after Christmas.
God, that guy's garbage. There you are, ladies and gentlemen. That is your weekly fix, if you will, your dose, your sort of your hit, your smack, your weekly smack from a football perspective. Done and dusted. 4 games, 2 different competitions. Hopefully, plenty of points, and dare I say, 4 wins for our teams. Could it be maybe too greedy to ask for that? Probably is. We can but dream. All that's left for me to do is to thank these 3 gentlemen for joining me on this this crazy roller coaster ride that is the football season. Join us again next week, where we'll break it all down. We'll go through the week after's games. Although sadly, I do believe there'll be no Forest game the week after next, as it's FA Cup weekend. There are championship fixtures scheduled in though. So, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And until then, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
So there you go. What do you think of that? Another week of games gone. Another week of games to look forward to. Some big games there. Big games. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening and or watching. One last thing before you go. Please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Drop any reviews you might want to drop. And like I said before, do share the podcast around. It's, word of mouth is a good thing for podcasting. You can also check out our website. It's thecookiecast.com. Over there we've got social media links and an email button. You can get in touch with us. Tell us who your favourite team is. How about that? That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to CookieCast. Please make sure to like, share and subscribe.